know yourself and feel yourself as the presence of awareness with which all experience is known, in which all experience arises, and ultimately out of which all experience is made. Notice that to be knowingly the presence of awareness requires no effort. We are naturally and effortlessly that which is aware of our experience. We do not need to become that through any effort or practice. We just notice that it is what we essentially are. And we feel ourselves to be that. What in fact requires effort is to imagine that we are something other than that. Although most of us are so accustomed to believing and feeling that we are something other than the open, empty, loving presence of awareness, that we no longer notice it as an effort. We have become so acclimatized or accustomed to it. Ask yourself the question, as the presence of awareness, is there any impulse in me to move away from the now, the current situation or circumstance? In other words, does awareness ever say, in response to the current situation or circumstance, I don't like what is present, I want what is not present? Or is awareness simply open, without preference, without discrimination, without choice, without resistance, without clinging to whatever is simply present now, the current situation or circumstance? In other words, does awareness ever negotiate experience? Remember, when I ask, does awareness ever negotiate experience, I'm not referring to some abstract, metaphysical, enlightened awareness. I am just referring to the very awareness that each of us now essentially is. Not an awareness that has been perfected or silenced or stilled through years of meditation, but just the very ordinary, familiar, intimate awareness that each of us presently is. In other words, see that our essential nature of simply being aware, or awareness itself, is like the empty space of a room. The empty space of the room in which each of us is, relatively speaking, sitting now is not resisting, never resists anything that takes place within it. And when an object or a person leaves that space, the space never seeks to hold on to it. It never clings onto it. The space simply allows whatever appears to appear, whatever exists to exist, and whatever vanishes to vanish. Well, we, awareness, are just like that. We, awareness, allow whatever appears to appear, whatever exists to exist, and whatever vanishes to vanish. In other words, we, awareness, do not know the meaning of the word resistance or seeking. And for this reason, awareness does not know the meaning of the word suffering. And it is for this reason that it is said that in order to bring suffering to an end, in other words, to find peace or happiness, it is only necessary to recognize the nature of oneself. The ending of suffering is the inevitable counterpart of that recognition. See clearly that it is only a thought that says, I do not like what is present, I want what is not present. All our suffering is created with that thought. By suffering here, I'm not referring to physical pain or discomfort. I'm referring to psychological or emotional suffering. See that the I don't like what is present, I want what is not present thought is superimposed on experience, like a subtitle superimposed on a movie. It is not necessary. It is possible to watch the movie without the subtitles. Likewise, the I don't like what is present, I want what is not present thought is not necessary for experience. It is added to experience, superimposed upon experience. Experience is not diminished in any way when that thought ceases to arise. Nothing is lost when that thought ceases to arise, apart from our suffering. Remember, the third patriarch of Zen. The great way is not difficult for those who have no preferences. When love and hate are both absent, everything becomes clear and undisguised. Make the smallest distinction, however, and heaven and earth are set infinitely apart. What is it that makes this smallest distinction? It is simply the I don't like what is present, I want what is not present thought. It is that thought that sets heaven and earth apart. With that thought, we cease, or we seem to cease, being the presence of awareness. We seem to become a separate self that likes some experiences and dislikes others. And from the perspective of that separate self, the world is at a distance from and other than ourself. In other words, from the perspective of the separate self, heaven and earth are set infinitely apart. What is it that creates this apparently separate self? The I don't like what is present, I want what is not present thought. That is what the separate self is, a contraction of resistance and seeking. When I say that is what the separate self is, that there is no separate self. The separate self is imagined to be the one who likes and dislikes, who seeks and resists. But there is no such one. There is just the presence of awareness, plus the arising of thoughts, feelings, sensations, and perceptions. The I don't like what is present, I want what is not present thought rises on behalf of a non-existent self. The imaginary self is created or imagined with that thought. Why not embark on a great experiment in your life? Say to yourself, make the resolution to yourself that I am going to stand knowingly. I am going not only to understand, but to feel that I am this open, empty, aware presence. And face all experience from its perspective. Face all experience as the presence of awareness, not as a self who chooses, discriminates, likes, dislikes, accepts, rejects, resists, seeks, etc. Face experience as the presence of awareness. We will not lose our ability to respond appropriately, that is, lovingly and intelligently, to each moment of experience as it arises. All that we will lose is the filter of likes and dislikes. Through which everything, in the words of the third Zen patriarch, becomes muddy and disguised. Remember, he said, when love and hate are both absent, everything becomes clear and undisguised. What did he mean? It means that reality is no longer filtered through the perceptions of our prejudices, our preferences, our likes and dislikes. It is known as it is, clear and undisguised. And this enables us to respond appropriately, moment by moment, to whatever situation we find ourselves in. Try this experiment, at least for a day. And if you like the results of the experiment, just keep doing it. Who is it that says life should be different from the way it is currently appearing? It is simply the current thought. The current thought is the only thing that is saying life should be different. This should not be happening. The current thought is, of course, a part of life itself, but it is that part of life itself that has separated itself from the rest of life, that has become a fragment, separate from and other than the rest of life, and considers itself a worthy judge of what should and should not be happening. Would it be possible to lead a life that was not based on the presumption of this thought, but was based on the fact that we are this open, empty, allowing, resistanceless presence of awareness? How would it be to lead a life, to live a life based on this simple feeling understanding? And I don't mean, of course, to subscribe in general to this idea, but I mean specifically moment to moment to live the truth of this. The third patriarch of Zen goes on. If you wish to see the truth, then hold no opinions for or against anything. To set up what you like against what you dislike is the disease of the mind. When the deep meaning of things is not understood, the mind's essential peace is disturbed to no avail. It is simply the I don't like what is present, I want what is not present thought that disturbs the mind's essential peace. That is the inherently peaceful nature of our self-awareness. That peace and fulfillment is its nature, is our nature. It is disturbed only by what the Zen patriarch called opinions for or against anything, by setting up what we like against what we dislike. That is, the essential peace and fulfillment of our true nature is disturbed only by the I don't like what is present, I want what is not present thought. We have allowed a single thought to deprive us of our innate peace and quiet joy. Nobody imposes that thought on us. That thought is our own activity. The Zen patriarch goes on. The way is perfect, like vast space, where nothing is lacking and nothing in excess. Indeed, it is due to our choosing to accept or reject that we do not see the true nature of things. It is simply our choosing and rejecting, our seeking and resistance, that obscures the true nature of things. And when that choosing and rejecting, that seeking and resisting thought dissolves, the distance between ourself and the world collapses. We find ourselves utterly, intimately one with the moment. The apparent separation between ourself and other, or ourself and the world, is dissolved. And the unity of being shines. It was always shining. It is always shining. But it is veiled by the I don't like what is present, I want what is not present thought. It is that thought alone that deprives us from the peace and the joy and the love that we value above all else.